This afternoon's is not a tutorial, it's more of a chat and to show you something I've been doing that I sent John a picture earlier in the week. I'm doing a set of GWR four-wheel coaches. That's a first, a third and a guards van. And what you can see on the screen there is the first class one that is the first off the print, came off earlier in the week. I'll get rid of that, and then you can see here I've got this one here, whoops, which is a third class one, and somewhere down here is the guard. Well, no, that's the first class one again. There's the guards van there. Now they've been then very easy to do. So I'm going to go through the one just to show you the technique I've used so that I can produce 3 wagons very quickly, really. So let's get back into Fusion, and I want to look at, I'm going to look at the first final. So I'm not going to do the drawing, I'm going to go through the timeline. So the first thing is to create the profile of the side, and that basically I show you on this one is this profile here. So it's creating that profile to get this inside bit, and let's go back, and that's the profile I done. So moving on from there, we then extrude that out, but I've only extruded it out to cover basically a door and 2 panels, and hopefully it will come clear why, because then by doing it in a panel section I can multiply it. So that's our basic panel, and then we put our sketch overlay on it. Now just ignore for the moment what's on this left hand side. That's used to create another panel to generate my first class ones. But let's just look at the third one first. Switch off the body, and there's the sketch. So what we've got there, we've got the inner window bits, which will be the mahogany parts of what GWR, and then you have an outer one. You've got the main body there, and you've got these inset panels and the door frame, hinges, door handle, and handle to help you on board. So from there, put the bodies back on again. We start to generate our, you can see there, let me go on an angle. So we switch off the sketches a moment. What have we done here? There you go. You can see now where we're ready to make our cutouts. We've already pushed that one through and done that one. So let's go through our cutouts. There's all our cutouts done. Now the next stage on that is I cut out the back. Now there's 2 reasons for cutting out the back, obviously, is because if I didn't cut out this back, this web here would extend here, and that's too thick for the window, obviously. And by doing a cutout, that then allows me to clip in a piece of perspex quite neatly to act as the window glass, okay? Now at the moment we have all our recesses. We have our little fancy bits here, our little bit sticking out here, which is sort of a vent thing that these coaches had, and we have the recesses for the wood. So that would be what is the mahogany part, as is with the opening closing window, and then the recesses. Moving on from there, put the sketch back on. What I haven't done at the moment though is the door, and this is where John raised his question, is how I did the door. Well, the door is quite easy because the door is the emboss command. And if you remember with the emboss command, we highlighted the template that we wanted, we used the emboss command, and then we chose the face that we were going to put it on. And you've got that face, which obviously is all the way up, and that embosses the door all the way round. Turn off the sketches, turn off that one as well, cancel. So you can see then the door has got a slight emboss. I think it was about 0.2 by 0.2 millimeter. It's just enough so that the printer will create a line there. You obviously don't want a massive gap. And if you're on end gauge, you want even less of a gap. So it's just to create a line in the plastic, if you like. Moving on from there, that's a second emboss and a third emboss, because now, apart from the door frame, we also had the hinges. And there's a pile of those, because if we go back to the sketch, we've got several hinges there. And they all need to be done separately because they're going back to different surfaces. And then there's a bit of extruding to level them all out. And put some curved edges on. Okay, now I'll move up a bit quickly now, because then you can see now our finished frame is taking place. So that's our finished panel. That's the end panel I've done. We'll ignore that for the moment. And then I fit the end panel on. Again, we did that, Mal did this quite recently. You can either use the align command or you can use a rigid joint command. Both will give you the same result. Then we have then we go through a yellow marker, John, which I tend to ignore. And then then I put in copying the panel. And that's the panel copied up there, and the end panel ready in place. Now remember at the beginning when we looked at the sketches, we had this little sketch over here on the side. You can see now what it's for. It's to create a blank panel which fits in here. And there's the blank panel that fits in there. It needs a bit of tidying up here then to take these bits back into there. And you just do that with the extrude command again. You see it's gone in that one, and that one's gone. And then you do the same down here. And that's basically that one side done. And then we keep going again. This timeline goes on forever. And then this side panel is mirrored on the other side. And then it's moved away because it's mirrored and a new body is completed. Then it's moved away to the other side. And that gives us our completed coach body ready to go. Now, if I go on to the parts plan, I used exactly the same panels here. You can recognize then the door, 2 windows. I repeated the panel here, but only used half of it. So I copied that panel over. Then with the extrude command, reduced it down so it was just one door and the panel. And then we've got a blank piece in, and then these up here again, the same panels. That there, if you can see that one there with the door, it's the same panel as down here, but I've just filled it in because they're filled in on a guard's wagon. And then add the extrusion piece on this side. And exactly the same way, mirror that side over to the other side, and you end up with a completed wagon. From there, the next stage now is the chassis, which I'm currently working on. So that's the one side frame that's done, and then there'll be a second side frame and the bit that goes in the middle.